So, is there anything more annoying than trying to solder a copper pipe like this one when water just keeps flowing from the pipe? Well, keep watching because I'm going to show you 3 simple tricks that are guaranteed to work. And I'm going to have you soldering successfully when there's water in the pipes by the end of this video. Let's have a go at soldering this with a bit of water in the pipe, and whilst we're doing that, I'll explain to you why it doesn't work. So you can see we can't get the heat into the fitting. As we continue to heat the copper pipe up, you can see it spitting out the top of the pipe. That's because that water's boiling, it's taken the heat away from the copper pipe, and we can't get the temperature into the copper to effectively solder that joint. Well, there's a couple of handy little tricks that we can do to stop that from happening. So I'm going to take this all apart, clean it up, and I'll show you trick number 1. The first method to use is the wet vac. And the trick to using the wet vac is to open up a fixture or fitting nearby to allow that water to be pulled from the pipe and the fixtures nearby. If we don't open a fixture, we'll just create a vacuum and we won't be able to remove all of the water. So make sure we open a fixture up, turn the wet vac on and start sucking that water out of the pipes. But eventually you'll notice that the water will stop flowing from the pipes and you can go ahead and do a bit of soldering. So number 2, the bread trick. What is it? Well, it's a proven old trick that plumbers have been using for years. We need a slice of white bread, and it does need to be white bread. Make sure the missus doesn't realise you nicked it from the cupboard though. We don't want to be using the crust, we just want some nice fluffy white bread. And just dampen it very slightly, and then knead that piece of white bread until you've got a nice neat ball of white bread. Now we're going to push that piece of white bread into the pipe, and you need to make sure that you push it up 3 or 4 inches. That piece of white bread will expand enough and bung up the pipe long enough for you to solder the joint. And you can see that that has given us an effective seal. We're not going to get too long to work on this though, because if there's any pressure building up behind that bread, eventually it's probably going to get forced out. So let's get on and solder the joint. Once you've finished soldering, if possible, I prefer to turn the water back on and flush that piece of bread out of the end of the pipe. Now there are some downsides to this method, the main one being that it doesn't really work on vertical pipes because the weight and therefore the pressure of the water does tend to push the piece of bread out and it won't create an effective seal. Now method number 3 is to use an isolation valve further back where the flow of water is coming from. Guys, before I show you method number 3, I recently posted a video where you can see me doing this exact job whilst repairing underfloor leaks on a heating system. The video is going to pop up here at the top of the screen. It's a really good little video, go check that one out. And if you like videos like this, make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss out on all the others that I've got to come, and give us a like because that helps the video to reach and help more people just like you on YouTube. So method number 3, the isolation valve. First of all, your isolation valve will have a flow direction on it. Make note of that flow direction and don't install it the wrong way round. In this case it's going from left to right, so we need to make sure that we install our valve with the arrow facing left to right. Install it a little bit further back from where we want to solder and make a cut in the pipe. The tools that you need to make a cut in the pipe will be linked in the description below. Before we install the isolation valve, take a screwdriver and close off the valve so that when we install it, it will stop the flow of water. Remove the nut from one end, including the copper olive inside. Slide that over the pipe. You can see we now have the nut and olive on the pipe there. Place the valve on the pipe and do the nut up hand tight first of all. Use some plumbing grips to hold the body of the valve and then use an adjustable spanner, do up the valve. And you can see we've stopped the flow of water. Now we can replace the length of pipe, put our fitting in place and solder it successfully. Remove the nut and olive from the other end of the isolation valve. Take hold of the length of pipe we cut out earlier, slide the nut and olive over the end of the pipe and we can replace that section of pipe. Once we've soldered our T in, we'll be able to turn the isolation valve back on and we'll have flowing water. Guys, let me know which one of the 3 tips you're going to be using, or which ones have worked for you in the past, down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.